Yo, what's up, guys? Today, with the how to play hand, we are discussing King King. Kings is one of my favorite hands, and it's usually a hand you're very happy to see. Obviously, it's the second best hand after aces, and in general, we should be very happy whenever we have it. But small differences to aces in a way. Same odds of being dealt. Second best hand in poker. Pros, the second best hand in poker, the second highest expected value from any hand. So if you ever get it, you should be very happy. Um, Amazing hand, especially short stacked, very good for slow playing, but has its issues because the ace high boards. Again, 23% chance that the flop comes ace high. That's gonna hurt us, like in a way. If we slow play and there's gonna be ace high on the board, it's either gonna kill our action or we're gonna probably pay few streets of value to somebody else. And again, I feel like ace high hands in general are probably the most played hands in poker. So when the flop comes ace high, it's very likely that somebody has it because again, especially recreationals tend to play every ace x hand because it just looks good. But in reality, has a lot of issues like ace high hand with bad kicker offsuit hand is just kind of garbage hand from a lot of positions, but I think people tend to play these still. So it's very common that they do have the ace when the ace hits. So that's kind of killer with the kings, which is not the issue with aces, right? There's no bad flops for aces. So that's small concern when slow playing, obviously. So it's gonna kill our action, or we're gonna lose couple streets. Someone value betting against us, basically. Same thing applies. Easy lose a massive pot if overplayed. I see this very often. People just get handcuffed to kings and they can't fold even though it's obvious they've lost the hand. So I think that's kind of interesting and good to keep in mind. You need to be able to fold kings too, like aces. Sometimes you have to fold them in poker, and there's no shame in folding aces or kings. It doesn't mean when when you have aces or kings you always need to call you. No, definitely not. Hard to fold when faced aggression. So these are probably the most common mistakes people make. Yeah, when it's like the aggression is so obvious that somebody has a better hand than your overpair or whatever good pair like kings. You get triple barreled on ace high board. Most likely a P2, but people still call it kings. So don't get handcuffed to your hand. Like, it is just good hand pre-flop, not post-flop. So stack size under 150 big blinds, you should be fairly happy to put the money in. Again, if it's full ring, this might not be even true. To be honest, like, some players all in range for 150 big blinds is exactly aces. There's nothing else. Like, if you play full ring, it might be just aces. So you still have to be a little bit careful who you're playing against. If they're just big nits, they play 3 bet only 2% aces and kings. So I don't know, but like, again, let's say if you open under the gun and you get 3 bet by a very tight player, it's probably better idea just to. It might be a better idea just to call with kings to kind of like slow play your hand, because like pushing the edges pre-flop, you're only going to get action from aces with 150 big blinds. So most of the time, I think it might be still fine to like just slow play kings, especially from early position. I feel like that's totally fine. From later position, let's say you open cutoff, button 3 bets. This is a situation I would always 4 bet pretty much because the positions and again people probably play wider ranges. So I think we have more value to 4 bet kings, right? So I would say till 150 big blinds, it's fine to stack off with kings, but again, be careful who you're stacking against. Some players might only have aces in their 5 bet, 6 bet shoving range, so again, be careful of that. Some players are happy to stack off with ace king, so those are the guys we should target, basically. Ace king, queens guys. Guys who are happy to stack off 150 with queens and ace king, which is depending on position, probably a mistake. So, and of course it matters if it's 3 max, 6 max. Again, 3 max, 6 max, the hand strength is kind of stronger. Because the likelihood somebody having like better hand is less likely. So again, same tip, don't slow play when deep stack. You want play heads up pots, not in massive multi-way pots where you can lose a huge pot versus better hand. Try to isolate, 3-bet your villains. Very important to be aggressive with king, especially early on. Yeah, that's a small mistake. But, yeah, again, don't slow play deep stacked. And why would I recommend that? So we can just have a look quickly with Equilab a little bit here and see difference. So I've assigned here some, king's hand and some range for the villain. This is just some range I've assigned for the flatter range like this. It doesn't really matter, but this is kind of like reasonable calling range, I guess, from button versus under the gun. Let's say it's something like this, and we just choose random boards, and we can look at our equity here. You can see that kings on queen 3-3 is still 85% versus the button range. So we are very comfortable on these flops. But my point is to go, just keep looking at this number, 79, so basically 80%. We go through queen 7-4, 7-3-3. So we are very comfortable on most of the flops versus button, 72%. As you can see, ace high board is fairly bad for kings. If there's flatter, we need to be careful. King high, very nutted. But basically, we are always over 70%, unless there's ace on board. Basically, that's about it. Unless ace king 5, that's of course great for us. But basically, we are always 70%. That's why make sure you would open little bit bigger sizes when you're deeper, because you don't want to have 3, 4, 5 callers when you have kings, because you will run into some trouble for sure. And again, when we here I assigned 3 ranges calling, so 3 different players calling. Let's say it's kind of hijack, cutoff calling, and big blind defending, big blind calling. So these are the ranges, and here you see the numbers for kings now, queen 10-8, which would have been probably 70% at least versus one player, is now 44%. So we need to be way more careful in 4-way pot again. So that's why it's important, don't min raise when we are playing super deep stack, because first of all, you get more value from the hands pre-flop. So you probably want to use 2.5x or even 3x. If people still keep calling you, go bigger, if you see that you're still getting 3 callers every hand, just go bigger size. You just get more value for your kings, basically. So don't be shy with the bet size. So again, here, ace 7 deuce, 3 spades. We only have 35% equity, not that much. So ace high boards are fairly bad, especially 4-way. Let's look at some other ace high board. Okay, king queen 7, we still have 86, which is pretty sick. Is there some? Okay, let me find some ace high board quickly, hopefully. Okay, so here we have ace jack 10. We only have 34% equity, so almost villains have similar equity versus our range. So it's kind of interesting that you really want to, there's not that huge difference to aces though, when you look at these multi-way pots, but that's why I try to make you understand that you should not overplay, especially in multi-way pots, because it's so easy for the villains to have some better hands too. Of course, it doesn't happen that often, but it's gonna happen, and you're gonna stack off 150 big blinds. That would be a big mistake. So while kings and aces are very valuable hands, certain boards you want to play more careful. Ace jack 10, you don't want to put your stacks in on this board. Queen 5-3, this is perfect spot to just bet big turn, depending on turn, of course, and river. But you can probably get always called by queen x, ace queen, king queen, queen jack, queen 10, and any flush draw, of course. So boards like this is, of course, very favorable to you. But again, boards 4, 5, 8, you probably don't even want to bet too big on these boards, because you kind of just want to see the turn. And if the turn is good, then you can bet big. So it really depends on your situation. And with the 2 players behind you, it might be fine to even check here. Sometimes kings kind of play very passive your range, so you protect your range with kings. So some boards like this, which really favors like the big blind and button, maybe you don't really have like 6-7 suited, maybe even. So, or not even all the pocket pairs. So you need to be really careful on these boards. So you probably have to even check kings to protect your range. But yeah, I thought that would kind of like show you a little bit like why I'm telling you to be more careful in multi-way pots, especially like 3, 4, 5-way. Especially for 5-way, it's gonna be way harder to actually win with the kings. So that's why you need to be able to fold sometimes kings post flop. So don't get married to the hand, just like the we talk about with aces. It is necessary sometimes to fold these hands, and it's not comfortable. Folding is not fun. Nobody enjoys not seeing the villain's hand, right? Because you might be bluffed, right? But I think that's like the fallacy in poker in a way. Like, if you're too what kills the cat is the being too curious, right? Like, if the if the cat is too curious, it gets killed. It's same in poker. Like, sometimes you just have to think like, okay, they have these bluffs, these value combos. They have too many value combos compared to their bluffs. We have to fold, right? So it's just like, but sometimes we get married to these hands. We just think like, overthink that they have all these bluffs, or whatever reasoning we come up with is probably not good. And then we end up calling. But yeah, just lay down those hands when needed, and you will do much better with them. So and especially try to target, like, make big bets versus people who are willing to stack off with the weak top pair. So those are the guys you really want to target with these hands. It's probably not going to be regulars, because they're not going to stack off 150 big blinds with worse. They're going to fold their top pair, top kicker. But some worse players, they're going to stack off 150 big blinds with ace queen on queen high board. These are the guys you want to target basically with kings and aces. So know who you are targeting, and you can get really good value from these hands. But be careful not to overplay them. But yeah, thank you for watching.